So welcome everybody. Today we are looking at magnetic marketing and messages. So what I want to take you through is what does it take to create content and marketing that really attracts the right people to you? Because if we're just pushing content out the whole time, it gets very exhausting and it's not so fun as when we're really creating content that is meaningful for people, creates an impact, and starts them coming into our world and interacting with us. So that's what we're looking to achieve with our messaging and marketing. And when we achieve that, then we can also be confident that what we're creating isn't just meaningful for us in terms of growing our business, but meaningful for our clients as well, and the people that we're here to serve. Uh, this is one of the events that you'll find. I've renamed this the Value Whispering Circle, and I forgot to update this slide. So it's the same branding, but different text on it, but it's still the same idea. So this is the online community. It's free to join, but there you've got the community, which is like a news feed where you can share anything you want, and we have different discussions going on each day of the week. And in the classroom, you'll find heaps and heaps of training already there for you. And in the calendar, you'll find what's coming up. Oh, sorry, I keep clicking thing. What's coming up, what the links are, how to get involved, that sort of thing, so you don't miss anything. And you've got a list of members. And as you contribute to the community, you earn points. And as you get points, you unlock bonuses, mostly training, but also some tools and ultimately a one-to-one session with me as well. So if you are not a member of that already, if you go to melittacampbell.com/club, so just go to my website and at the end put /club, it'll redirect you directly to here. So do come and join us over there. So all of my content, as Kath knows very well now, having read my new book, which isn't published yet, it should be out next month. And Mary Ellen also knows this process very well. But for Amelia and Emily, this is the process of, well, how I have brought all of my 30 years of experience in marketing, sales, and business growth together. Because it starts with the true value at the beginning, which is all about positioning you, building your brand, and having an offer that really is the catalyst for the change that you want to create for your clients. So we get that in place first. And this is where I see a lot of people trip up with their marketing because they think, oh, I have a business and now I need to tell people about it. But if you haven't understood this first part, so your true value, it's all about what's unique and special about you. Why do you do what you do? Why are you different or better than other options on the market? So everything about you and your offer. And then we do the same for your clients. So, and then you're looking for how can you use your value to create the biggest impact for your ideal clients? And then that's called your value sweet spot, which we'll touch on again later. But once you know that, then if you do everything from that space, then you already know that you are being in alignment with your strengths, the brand that you want to build, the impact you want to have, but also it makes it much easier then to make good decisions, to prioritize, to feel confident, to build your confidence and mindset around that. So we start here because this makes everything else easier. So where I see most people struggle with their messaging and marketing and why it's not magnetic is because they're doing what they feel they should do, or they're putting words together that sound nice and they're then improving that with ChatGPT so they sound even nicer, but they're not connecting because they're not coming from your value sweet spot. Hopefully that makes sense. So we start there. And then we go into your authentic marketing and sales. So once we know that value sweet spot, how do you then weave that through everything you do? So instead of, well, this is really the space to come from. All of your content comes from your value sweet spot. So again, it becomes much easier to know what is the right thing to do or not do, because you have this sort of filter already for making those decisions. And then we have a process which starts to look at how do you set up a way of delivering your marketing and your sales conversations that is consistent. So you're not always reinventing the wheel, you're using proven frameworks to do that. So it all becomes easier to manage because for most of us, it's just us, possibly a virtual assistant helping you as well, but you don't have a big team to manage all of this. So everything has to be simple, straightforward, and all build on itself so it has that impact that you want to create. Then what I have learned over time is that none of this happens. I mean, I could quite easily have a chat with you, go and design your perfect messaging and marketing plan and present it to you, but it won't work if you don't believe in it. If you don't believe that everything that's there is represents you accurately, if it doesn't like if you don't feel connected and aligned with that, but also if you don't have the time and energy to put into that, if you don't have the right habits in place to support you, if you don't create the right environment for your success. So this self-leadership is really important because it's what allows you to actually implement your plans, to do so with confidence, joy, and consistency as well. So all these three things have to work together to build, I don't know if you can see, but the momentum, confidence, and impact, and ultimately create that whisper your value for your clients. So you build your business, but also you have that impact that you feel proud of. So that's the whole thing. And say you can get the whole process in my book that's coming out very soon. um, so today, whoops, we are going to be looking at the marketing side of things. So we're kind of skipped ahead a little bit, but we're diving into what does it mean to create content that's aligned, but also how do you present yourself and present your message in a way that people are going to connect with. So there are a few rules around this. And I know that a lot of people haven't had years of experience and training in marketing and communications. So we're going to fill that gap with some simple frameworks so you can keep these in mind when you're creating your messages and delivering them to make sure that each one is going to land, because that is ultimately the thing that's going to attract your clients the fastest in whichever way, whether it's through networking, whether it's through webinars, whether it's through social media, is a message that really connects and lands with your audience. So what do you think it means to be magnetic? What would you love for your marketing to do for you? And what do you want to get from this masterclass, in other words? Put that in the chat, or as I say, it's just us. So if you want to unmute and explain what you feel magnetic means for you, just speak.
I think I think it's about people being drawn towards me.
Mm-hmm.
Rather it's almost making them want to hear what I'm saying rather than me having to force it onto them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And keep coming back for it.
Yeah, exactly. And when we feel that we're forcing content onto people, that's not very motivating for us either. We soon stop. We don't want to bother people, So yeah, so it helps people feel drawn to us so we can have more impact, but also feel that we're in the right space doing the right thing, which is always a big question for us. Amelie, Mary Ellen, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just put in the chat that I think also, to me, it means that like what I'm saying is really resonating with my ideal client.
Mhm.
So they want, like Kath was just saying, they want more. They want to keep coming back.
Yeah.
You've also got in the chat, Melitta, from Amelia, you've got power to attract.
Yes. I should open the chat bot. That would help. Power to attract. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's all about making our effort worth it on both sides. It's attracting those clients, and as Mary Ellen said, because they're resonating with our content, because we're building that connection. And we know before anyone buys from us, they have to know, like, trust, and believe us. So they have to know we exist. They have to like who we are and what we have to offer. They have to, like trust, trust that we are able to deliver what we promise, but they also need to believe that we're the right person to serve them. Because you can have the know, like, and trust. They can know you, they can like you, they can trust you to deliver it, but still not believe you're the right person for them. So this all comes together. And when your messaging are attracting people and their interaction, then you can see that you're starting to build this know, like, trust, and the belief, which is the last two are really crucial as well. So the trouble is, why I developed this whole process in the first place was just seeing too many talented coaches and experts losing out to the competition just because they couldn't communicate the value of what they offered. And it's not about, as we said, pushing content out there. It's really expressing your value. And this is a part that lots of people miss because, well, as Kath knows, in the very introduction of the book, I explained why I've developed this, and people were putting stuff out there that was very clever. It was right, but it wasn't expressing them, and therefore it wasn't magnetic. So understanding this true value, this value sweet spot, is really the first step, and then you can weave that value in a way that feels natural to you because you may hear people saying, oh, you have to be on Instagram. Oh, you have to have a YouTube channel. Oh, you can only get clients through webinars these days. None of this is true. Any of them can work, but if it doesn't feel authentic and natural to you, if it stresses you out, if it doesn't allow you to come across in a way that feels aligned and connected, it's not going to attract people because if we don't enjoy our marketing, if it doesn't feel right, it's not going to feel right for them either. So starting to understand your value and your strengths and how you want to create an experience for your clients is really key to unlocking magnetic marketing and messages. So it has two sides to this. So it's your perspective, which is I want to create these dream clients. So you want to create everything with them in mind. And it's worth boiling those dream clients as a group down to one person, that one avatar that represents the person that you want to attract. And because you're being more specific, you're going to attract more people because they're going to resonate deeper with the content you create. So we may be creating the content with one person in mind, but it's going to resonate with a lot more people who have that same challenge, who have the same values, who want to solve that problem in the same way. They're going to resonate with this. And we see it time and time in my program, the Value Whispering Blueprint, which guides people through this entire process, that when people narrow down that niche and start to get specific, they actually attract more people from outside of that niche because other people that they hadn't realized could be ideal clients are seeing their content and thinking, oh, but I want that. So most people know me as a coach for female entrepreneurs and introverts. Yet a lot of the clients I work with are male. Mostly I work with them one-to-one. And a lot of the people in my group program aren't necessarily introverted either. But because I've narrowed it down to, well, this is why my approach is this way, then it attracts people that want those same results. And that you also want to look at their perspective as well, which is they're looking for a solution provider, someone that they can trust and believe is the right person for them. So we want those, it's not just about what we want to say to our dream clients, but what do they need to hear from us to build that belief in us as their trusted advisor. It's communication, it's the transfer of meaning from one person to another. And to create meaning, you need two things. You need information, and you need to think about how do people interact with that information? How does it make them think? What does it make them feel? And what does it encourage them to go away and do? If they don't think, feel, or do anything as a result of receiving your information, you haven't created a magnetic message. So we always want to be thinking not just of the information we want to put out there, but what is the audience going to do with that? And who are they? Because when we understand who they are and what it takes for them to think, feel, and do something, then that's going to change the way that we're going to present the information as well. So keep that in your mind whenever you're producing your content. What are people going to think, feel, and do as a result of hearing or reading or experiencing this content? And that is already going to improve your message's ability to attract the right people. Is all of this making sense so far? Any questions? Okay, it's a bit of a lot of learning right here. So you want to also keep this in mind. This is my big rule for communications: is don't make them think. So you don't want them to read a message and try and think, oh, why is she telling me this? Oh, why did she put that image with that? Oh, what does that word mean? Anything that's going to distract them is going to pull them away from your message, and it won't land. People are so easily distracted these days. You need to do the thinking for them, which is where that thinking about the information, the interaction comes in. Like, what do you take the time to figure out what they're going to think, feel, and do, and make sure, like, edit your message and double check everything before you send it. Have you got the right information in the right order to get those results? And have you stripped out anything that is irrelevant, is going to distract them from that? So keep that in mind as well. Just make sure that you're doing the thinking for them, because a confused mind doesn't buy or buy into anything. And people don't buy the offer that is best. They buy the offer they best understand. So making things really clear and simple, but engaging at the same time, it's tricky. But when we keep these things in mind and just do a rough edit, then we go back through, is everything here going to help them think this way, feel that, do the other? And is there then a final pass? Is there anything in this that would distract them? Is there information that's missing or irrelevant or too much? And does everything work together? If you do that, you'll start to see a real difference in the how people receive your information. And over a little bit of time, it becomes automatic. You'll automatically begin to think these things, and you'll automatically see things that are distracting, or where you could add a bit more of an emotional connection in, and this kind of thing as well. So my first business, when I started 17 years ago, was a communication consultancy. And as part of that, I used to train communication professionals, both in-house and as public workshops, which I really enjoyed. I did that for 5 years. And when I was training them, I remember when I started to develop, the first time I was asked to do this, I was like, right, we were decorating our house at the time. So we had this huge wall that we were about to demolish, so I could like scribble all over it and stick things on it. So I wrote down all the things that I felt were essential about communications that everybody needs to know to be able to communicate effectively. And I kind of put them all up. I had 53 things on the wall. And then I was like, that might be a few too many things. And then my husband came in. So I'm looking that way because that's where the wall is. My husband came in and said, you cannot teach all of this. I was like, okay, I need to think about this some more. So I started grouping things and regrouping them. And in the end, I boiled everything down under 4 things. So there were 4 golden rules of impactful communication. And I was teaching this for about 2 years. And then I remember being called into the UN to do another training. I'd done a lot of training with them before. But only this time it was the heads of all of the communication teams for like UNICEF, UNAIDS, and so on, and not the kind of teams. And so I was like, oh my God, they're going to throw me out. They're going to like, just when it's so simple that it's just going to be insulting for them. But I thought, well, it's all I have, so I'll deliver it anyway. So I started to take them through these 4 rules, and I think I've just finished number 4, and I brought up number 2, and I brought up number 3, and then the head of communications for UNICEF stood up. I was like, this is it. This is the moment where I get thrown out. But she actually said, can I just say, this is groundbreaking. We have never thought about our communications this way, but it's so true. Everything needs to tick these boxes or it won't work. So then they had an really simple framework that they could use for every message. So my point is, this is going to look very simple, but don't underestimate just how powerful it can be to keep in mind. So the first thing is just to have a single, clear purpose. What do you want your message to do? And if you have a message and you think, actually, I want it to do this and this and this, then you have three messages. So you want to have, and you may have like sub goals for your message. It would be nice if it also does these things, but you just want one primary purpose for your message. And you want to be able to express that in one short sentence. So aim for like 10 words maximum. But that's going to make it much easier for you to create the information and think through how are people going to interact with this to achieve this goal that I want. And it's much easier for you to write in the first place because you know what you're writing and why. And you will find it much easier to edit it because, again, you know what you want in there, what you don't want in there. And it's much easier for your reader or your listener in the end to understand the message as well because they're just getting what they needed and nothing else. So having a single clear purpose helps on so many levels. And there are probably about 20 sticky notes behind this as well. So, but if you do this, you really can't go far wrong. Add into being audience centric. So always creating, as we said earlier, everything for your dream client specifically, really understanding who are they, where are they now, where you want them to get to, what do they already know or think they know about your topic, and then writing everything for them. Again, it's going to make it so much easier for you to write, and it's going to make your content so much more successful. So do pause and think of these two things before you even start. But once you do this, you'll find that you don't have, or you'll have much less of this kind of like blank screen syndrome where you're sitting there thinking, I don't know what to say. Because when you know why you're saying it and who you're saying it for, suddenly it becomes much easier. And if you are ever struggling to write something, then take a step back and thought, do I know who I'm writing this for and why? And here's the thing, if you do put content together and you don't know who it's for and why, your audience, they're never going to figure it out. If you don't know why you're writing it, they're not going to figure out why either. So this is going to make your messages really stand out and make them easier to write and edit and create as well. The next thing is to keep it simple and relevant. As we said, a confused mind doesn't buy or buy into anything. So we want to keep it simple. And the more of them that your dream client, they see in that message, the more it speaks to where they are today and what they're struggling with, the more they're going to lean in and want to read this message. And the more messages they get from you that are clear, that give them some insight, that help them in some way, that they started to find them valuable and they can start to trust your content, the more anytime they see your name in their email inbox or your name on social media, they're going to pause and read your content because they know, oh, I always get value from Kath. I always enjoy her point of view. She's always got a very interesting perspective. I'll spend the however many seconds it takes to read this. So we're starting to build that credibility as well. And remember, they need to believe we're the right person to serve them, and our content is the way that we start building that belief. And the more we can use these rules to keep it really on point, the stronger that's going to be. The fourth rule could be the only rule because it's to plan. And your plan is going to contain your purpose, your audience, and it's going to help you like keep things simple and relevant. And just to make sure that you have the time to create something to the standard that you want and to check that it worked. So the final part is that of planning is to like plan ahead how am I going to know if this message worked? What are the telltale signs? And when I gathered that information, whether it did or didn't work, how am I going to use that to make sure that the next message is that little bit better and a little bit better? And there's a book, I can't remember, like Will It Float? Is that what it's called? I don't know if anyone knows this. It's about an Olympic team that with a boat, and they were just always trying to find a way to make things 1% better and 1% better, and then they won the race. And it's the same with the British cycling team. They did the same. How can we make every aspect of the bike and ourselves and our style 1% better? And that increases over time. So we're looking to do the same with our messaging and our marketing as well. I'm going to pause for breath. Does that all make sense? Any questions? Okay. So, but the big thing I want you to remember when you are creating your marketing and your messaging is that ultimately you are the value. Your clients are buying you. So when we're making our content and we want to make it as good as possible, we want to connect, it still needs to come from you. And this is a really important message now in the world time of AI as well, is that everybody's content can feel the same and it can lack your personality, your perspective, if we're not careful. And you can use AI to do this. Using AI doesn't mean that we have to lose who we are, but we just need to be conscious in using AI in a way that amplifies who we are and doesn't dilute it. So some things to think about, and when we're building influence, we're looking at, and when people are buying us, they want to connect with us emotionally. They want to feel that we're on the same page, we have the same values, we have the same, that emotional connection is so, so important. But then they need to back that emotional feel, because every sale is emotional, but we don't realize it's emotional always because we very quickly back that up with logic. So, for example, we see the perfect handbag. We're like, oh, I love that handbag. I have to have it. But then it's like 500 Swiss francs or pounds or whatever. And we're like, oh, but it's 500 pounds. And then we quickly think, yes, but if I have this handbag, it's going to make me look more professional. And I get this other client and that's going to bring me, so although it was initially emotional, we won't buy if we can't back it up with logic. But we feel inclined to do that. We will always try and find the logic where we really want something, but we can already bring this to people. So when they connect with us emotionally, if we can explain how we work and how this is going to answer their needs and what they're going to walk away with, this is all building the logic and helping them to justify that decision to buy from you. And then ultimately we need the credibility, because if we don't have that credibility, if they're not going to believe that we're the right person, they're not going to trust us, and probably they wouldn't listen to us in the first place. So if you can build credibility, so for example, if you go to someone's website, my website, for example, and you have I've got my little logos like TEDx logo, Forbes logo, then that instantly builds my credibility because they can see, oh, she's written books, she's been in Forbes, she's been in Thrive Global. So she must be someone who has something credible to say. So we're looking to build all of those things. But some simple start points are to think about, why did you start your business in the first place? This is the emotional connection you have with the work that you do. And often why we started, well, we often have two. So one is often our selfish why. So I started my business because I had children and it just wasn't feasible to work in the office anymore. So I started my own business just so that I wouldn't be bored. I could sort of keep my hand in, do a bit of work, earn a little bit of money, while I was just like take my daughter through her early years, and then I was going to go back to the office. Obviously, clearly that was nearly 18 years ago, so I never went back. But my sort of more public facing why was that I just saw at the time, initially it was companies missing out because they couldn't communicate clearly and engage their teams. And then later it was small business owners who were missing out on clients and feeling really frustrated because they were amazing at what they did, but they couldn't attract enough clients because they couldn't communicate the value of that in a way that felt clear, straightforward, and natural for them. So that's why I started my business. But you can start to see that emotional connection. And then the how, the logic is going to be, how is your approach better or different to your competitors? And if you listen to my podcast, I can't remember which episode, but um, if you like search for my favorite way to communicate your value, that takes you through the approach of creating a system around your approach. And when you have a system, it benefits you in so many different ways. And one of them is that you can show people logically the journey you're going to go through together. And then you can talk about how that's going to position them to get the results that they want in a way that's fully aligned with what they're looking for. And then also what has led you to this point. So this can be your credibility builder because it's your brand story. It brings in your background and why you're perfectly placed to solve this problem. And these three questions alone are already going to help build that know, like, and trust. It's going to build that pathos, logos, ethos, which is the credibility, the emotional connection, and the logic working together. So when you start to break down these three elements and put those into your messages as well, then it's not just magnetic, but it's making you more magnetic over time because you're going to start building more connection. They're going to see you as credible and someone that they really want to continue to follow and learn from. So, so as we said right at the very beginning, when you find your value sweet spot, that space between what's everything that's unique, brilliant, and special about you, and where that overlaps with the real needs and desires of your dream clients, build everything from that space, and you won't go far wrong, especially when you layer in all of the frameworks I've just very quickly raced through for you. You can find the replay if you want to go back through anything in the Dream Clients Club, as I mentioned. So it's this value sweet spot we want to find in the middle. Start there, and everything else is going to start to come together for you. Does that all make sense? What questions do you have? And because this is the last slide, by the way. I've raced through that very quickly so we can double down, go back through anything that wasn't clear or you have questions around, or have you got a piece of content you're working on? You're thinking, how can I bring these elements in it? We can discuss that too. Over to you.
Yeah, I just want to say that no, I find this really helpful, and I've been through this before since I've been with you for a while, Melita, and it's just, every time you go back and review something, you always get stuff from it. You always get so much from it. So yeah, it was really, really helpful for me today with like where I am in my marketing versus where I was a year ago, and helping me kind of rethink. Yeah, how am I portraying my real value in my messaging.
Yeah, thanks. And I think you in that original training I used to do for communication professionals, I had this little model that I created, and it's like, you are here at the top of the circle, and then it's like you're going to learn the theory, then you're going to put it into practice. And when you start to see how it works, you're going to push those boundaries a little bit more. Say, oh, well, can I do this? And then you're going to start to really see what works and what doesn't work. And then you're going to reflect on that. And then you come back to that same theory and you'll see it in a whole different light. And then you can just keep going around and relearning these things, but deepening your understanding, deepening your effectiveness. And every time it's different. And every time you go through that process, you're a different person, and your understanding of yourself, your clients, your value, everything that you can do has evolved as well. So yeah, this is a great training to come back to like every 6 to 12 months minimum, because you will start to see things differently. You'll try things out and then you'll come back to it and like, oh, I missed that step, or yes, that was right, this worked, and this is how it worked in this stage. Maybe I can do it this way next time. So yeah, it is something that we keep learning for sure. And seeing in
Yeah.
different ways, like fairy stories.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a real evolution. Yeah. So it was very helpful, very
Yeah.
insightful. Thank you.
Great. Kath, Emily, any questions on your side?
Yes, I wanted to ask, sometimes you hear that you need to have like kind of your core value, which is what you say, and say it's a number of three. I don't know, what do you think of this with what I heard often? Because I try to work on mine, and I just, Marilyn, just say it's very hard, right? Because you process and you probably change over time a little bit.
Hmm.
So I just want to know, what is your opinion regarding having three, or must it be more? Or do you consider you just need a vision and a mission, like as a text, to just explain, and this is including your value, like, or also having a motto or something like that? I just try to understand how can you like build it properly without having too much.
Great question. So your true value, I've called it true value because people kept saying, "Oh, I know my values." I was like, "Yeah, but your true values is just a small part of that. It's everything about your strengths, your lessons you've learned the hard way. There's so many facets that make you amazing that we want to take a broad view of that. And often what makes us so brilliant is the struggles we've gone through, and we discount that too often. So it's everything. But coming to your values, with an S, yeah, I think it's helpful to have three. If you have more than that, it becomes difficult to live into them. So what you want to do is the process, and it's in my book, you can go through is you can Google list of common values to help you get started. And if you have other values that don't appear on that particular list, that's okay, because your values are really what's important to you. And
Mhm.
often, if you're struggling to find them, it's what you don't like most in other people is often because they are opposite to what your core value is. So
Mhm.
once you know your values, narrow that down to 10, then narrow it down to five, and then bring it up to three. And the way to do that is just to take, say it was excellence and freedom. It's like, well, if I had excellence, but I didn't have freedom, is that okay? Or if I had freedom, but I didn't have excellence, is that better? Just to say, if I could only have one but not the other, would that bother me? And you can then start to put the list in order.
Mhm.
But then you want to look at, well, what does that mean for me? Because maybe all of you have the same values of excellence and freedom, but what that means for Mary Ellen may be very different to what it means for you. So you want to think, well, what does this mean for me? How does this guide me in how I show up, what I say yes and no to, how I conduct myself? And then you can have that check-in every day or, creating your content. Well, does this express my values? Or does it go against them? So you can really make sure that you're always being aligned. And this is something particularly for those who are more introverted and have that kind of energy. If you're acting out of alignment, it's going to drain your energy faster than if you're in alignment. So understanding these things can help you not just show up, but show up, not just show up better, but show up better more often as well and preserve that energy. So that's how I would do it. But if you have like five values and you're trying to live into these five values every day, it's harder than just having like two or three. So that's why I would limit it. But anything that doesn't make it into, like, if you didn't have honesty in your top three, it doesn't mean you're dishonest. And I've had clients struggle with that a little bit. It's like, oh, but this is, I don't, this doesn't mean I'm not this. Like, it just means it's not the most important thing in how you want to conduct yourself every day. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Great. Anything on your side, Kath?
I think I need to probably be a little bit more. I think you're talking about having a system and planning. I think really resonates for me. I think I do need to put more prior thought into it rather than thinking, oh my God, I need to do a LinkedIn post today, and I'm going to do my LinkedIn post in that 10-minute window, and it's always just going to be not good enough. So I think for me, it's about having being more strategic and putting more time into the planning and the thought and probably thinking about it in a more longer term way, so it's a coherent story. And you've used the word consistent loads, and I think that's really important, is thinking about how I can keep that consistent over time, the message rather than the frequency.
Yes, yes, exactly. I hope you learned that from my book. Because yeah, lots of people think, oh, I have to be consistent and post every day, but it's more important to be consistent in your message so that because people aren't
Literally, so I literally added that because of because I knew you'd pick me up on it otherwise.
Yeah, because I see it all the time. People are like, oh, I have to post something every day, but then it doesn't connect because it's not being consistent. And sometimes they'll say one thing and sometimes they'll say something the other way because they haven't planned it properly. Um, I'm not terribly consistent. And I think you've probably heard this before, but in 2021, LinkedIn named me as one of the 15 most authentic contributors on their platform out of the hundreds of thousands of people on there because of the consistency of my message. That's why I'm taking it. So I think that's the only reason I can think that they would have picked me over other people who are much more consistent. It's a consistency of message, but also I'm thinking, what do I want people to think, feel, and do? And therefore, it gives those messages not just that consistency, but that magnetic quality as well. So, when you layer these ideas into your content, it just helps streamline them. So, keep all of these in mind. Don't get overwhelmed by them because done is better than not done. There's a phrase for that, and it was not that what I just said. But
Done is better than perfect, is what I
yes,
always say.
that's what I meant to say. Done is better than perfect. And, B minus is more than good enough. So don't aim to have A plus plus content because you'll never get it out there. But B minus and consistent with your message, you've thought through, well, this is how I want to help people today. That's going to really have an impact. So yeah, don't worry about it being perfect, but do get your messaging out there. And I have a little something for you all, which may help with that. So I have a little offer. Now, I just came up with this earlier, so I don't have a landing page and a sales page. So just message me if this is interesting for you, and I will, as soon as I have all of the kind of setup, then you'll get this. Mary Ellen, you already have this because you're a client, so this is already bundled in. So you will get my magnetic messages challenge course. It's a 4-day course that goes deeper into everything that we've covered here. It'll take you into planning and have you create a simple content plan with templates and everything as we go through. It touches on storytelling because that's a really key way to have that emotional connection with people is through storytelling. So it covers a lot in 4 kind of modules. And something brand new, which I've just created last week, is a magnetic blog studio GPT. So this is a custom GPT that I've made. It works on ChatGPT, and it's it gives you 4 different types of blog post that build your credibility, your authority, and that connection with your clients, and showcases your offer in the context of solving your dream client's problem the way that they want to solve it. And I mentioned earlier, I've been working in marketing communications my entire career, and it embedded in each blog post is the structure that I've learned works best for each one. And so it's going to guide you into developing your brand tone of voice to start with. It's going to look at where do you want to guide people to. So what is the paid offer or the freebie that you want people to like, what do you want people to do at the end, basically? And then for your chosen blog type, it is then going to take you through the framework and ask you all of the questions to extract your information. You're kind of going to journal into it, and then it's going to pull all of that content together into a structure. And then once you're happy with the structure, with everything the way it is, it's then going to do an SEO audit on it and update anything, and an AI search audit on it as well, which is really crucial these days because more people are searching through ChatGPT than Google at the minute. So, and Chat has the ability not just to give you a list of your preferred options of service providers, but it will sell you to it. So the more content you have that really speaks to your value, the more successful the AI search will be in promoting you and putting you as their number one choice. So getting out and being visible has never been more important, but I know it's very time consuming. So this blog is going to make it creates a perfect blog post for you in around 15 to 20 minutes, as opposed to an hour or two, and possibly, once you add in all the procrastination around that, a month. For some of my clients, they're doing a blog a month because it takes that long to think about it and come around and get it perfect. This is going to do it for you in 20 minutes. So it's I've been testing it out, and it's really very impressive. I've written 3 blog posts in the last 2 days, just in like the minutes between meetings, because I was like, oh, I want to test it out. And every time I've been really, really impressed with what it comes up with. So I'm bundling these together, and just for the first 20 people, if you buy that before the end of next week, because this is going to be my Black Friday offer, it's going to be £197 or Swiss francs, depending on where you are, or we can work out what the dollar rate is if you are in dollars. Then if you'd like to get your hands on that, just let me know, and I'll set up all the links that need to be set up, and I'll send that over to you. But I want to limit this, so I wanted to give you first dibs before we move on to that. So any questions on that, by the way?
When you say a blog, how long? My outputs are normally very tiny. So how many words are you sort of talking when you say blog?
Yeah, so I've set it up to create a blog post of a minimum of 1,500 words, because that's the optimum for SEO. But at the end, the other thing it does for you is it'll say, do you want a shorter version, like for a LinkedIn article, LinkedIn post, an email, or any other social media content?
Okay.
So it then take that blog and repurpose it for you as well.
Okay.
So, and the way each blog is set up with the subtitles and the content in between, you can then take each of those blocks and make it a social media post or an email as well. So, yeah, it can do all the repurposing for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Amelia, there's no dates. So the challenge, it's pre-recorded. So you go through at your own pace. And the blog studio, you get access as soon as you decide you want it. And so you can already start creating blogs. So there's no date. But the deadline for buying into this offer is the 30th of November. And I don't know that I'll ever offer it again. I might do, but this is just a really unique thing, because I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them about it today because it fits so nicely with this particular topic, and it will help you take that next step with greater ease as well. So yeah, if you have any other questions, then let me know, or you can always email me after as well.
Can I just ask on the course, you said it's 4 days, and then you said it's 4 modules. So how much contact time, if that makes sense, is it in terms of, like, is each module like an hour or a day, or what does that look like in real time?
Yeah, it takes about 20 minutes to do each one. And it comes with, so you get the, oh, let me, because we've just finished. So you get a 20-minute masterclass, and then a workbook and any relevant templates to go through. So you could do it as 4 days, because I originally, when I did it, I delivered it over 4 days, but you could do it in 1 day if you wanted. You could even do it in a couple of hours if you wanted to really dedicate yourself to it. And there is a pre-recorded Q&A at the end of each one for when we did do it live, in case that's helpful for other people in the past have probably asked the question that you have. And you can always, if you go through that and you have questions, you can always reach out to me as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Emily. So what have been your gems today? So how are you now when it comes to creating magnetic content and messages, and what are you most excited to go away and do? Oh, Kath, you're the only one left.
Oh, you've
So
still got Amelia. You've still got Amelia.
yeah, I've still got Amelia in the background. I was just
I think she's probably having problems with her audio visual because she is posting on the chat.
yeah.
But yes, I take your point. I'm the only one that's going to answer your questions.
Well, Amelia
Oh,
can put it in the chat.
yeah, she
Might be in
can.
a busy class.
How do I feel? I feel like I can do more, and I will do more, and I should do more, and I'm going to do more. And what am I excited to go and do? I am going to do some really strategic thinking. I'm going to try and get some dedicated time when my Teams messages aren't pinging and try and really think strategically about what I'm going to do with my LinkedIn posts over a longer period of time, maybe, like a 3-month window or something like that.
What's quite nice to do with LinkedIn posts is to create like mini journeys. We talk about that in the challenge. So as you're planning it out, instead of planning individual posts, think, okay, well, what's the journey I want to take people on this week or this month? And then when you tile your content into that, it's more fun to create because you're kind of batching your thinking. And people can start to engage more because you're taking them through more of a process, if you like, more of a story. So they can be quite fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks for Kath for all your participation and everyone else that was here live. The replay will be available in the schools group. So if you wanted to go back through anything at all, you can have access to that. And yeah, next week we have the pod club. So that is where it's like a book club, but it's for the podcast. So any previous episodes, particularly in the last month, but anything from before that stood out for you, you want to share and discuss with other people, you are welcome to come to that. They're always really lively sessions, and you're never quite sure what comes out because often you think, oh, I thought this on this, and this stood out for me, and something else stood out for someone else, and then it sparks a whole new idea. So those are always really fun events as well. So that's the same time next week, so 2 o'clock Swiss time, 1 p.m. in the UK. So feel free to come and join us for that. Even if you haven't listened to an episode or just a clip of an episode, then you already have some ideas to share. So that's always quite fun. And then we have the book launch, of course, coming up sometime in December. The publisher was like, yeah, it'll be done in December. I was like, okay, but I need a plan and I need to see stuff on it. It's for my control freak side, is feeling a bit like, is it really gonna happen? But they assure me it will, so we'll see. So announcements will be made once I know. I'll do an online launch in December, once that book comes out, and then I'll do an in-person launch in January because I figured no one's going to spend time to come out in an evening in December. Whereas in January, it's quite nice to have a fun event to look forward to. So there will be lots more about the book once that comes out. But of course, you already have a sneak preview of what that's going to look like. So
I do.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again, Kath, and I'll
Thanks
maybe
very
see you
much.
again soon.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye. Oh,